Food is not the reason most people travel to Brazil. People go to Brazil for the beaches and the babes, and then sort of just stumble into whatever restaurant happens to be open along the Copacabana boardwalk. No, don't do that. This is bad. If that is you, you are making a mistake. The local food is actually incredible, and it is absolutely worth seeking out. My name is Josh, and I am a digital nomad who lives in a different country every single month. Join me as we journey across 3 famous cities in the south of Brazil, trying some of their most iconic dishes and learning why Brazil might be one of the best food nations on the entire planet. If you're from the US, like I am, then chances are good that the only Brazilian restaurants that you've ever been to look like this. Sometimes these are known as rodízios or churrascarias, but essentially these are places that just bring skewers of meat directly to your table over and over and over and over and over and over again, buffet style. You can find churrascarias in every city, but I actually want to highlight one that I went to at Foz do IGUAÇU called Buffalo Bronco. Myself and my friend Caroline had literally spent the entire day exploring some of the most beautiful waterfalls in the entire world and like rafting and just getting absolutely drenched. So yeah, suffice it to say that we had worked up an appetite. If you've ever wanted to genuinely know what it feels like to be a turkey that is being stuffed in preparation for Thanksgiving dinner, this place will give you that experience. It is truly just endless meat. It does not stop. Most of these places also have a salad bar and a dessert bar, but those are just for show. You are barely even gonna have time to get up from your chair between the courses of meat being served. I qualify this as an experience as much as a meal. Like, I don't specifically need to do this again for quite a while, like the itch is scratched. But what's crazy is that for as iconic as all of this is, fire grilled meat is not the national dish of Brazil. This is actually the national dish of Brazil. This is called feijoada, and it's actually a super simple dish. For my feijoada, we are heading to a restaurant in the iconic city of Rio de Janeiro in the bohemian neighborhood of Santa Teresa. It is known as Bar do Mineiro. It's a super popular spot. We actually ended up having about a 30-minute wait before we could get inside. But once we were in, it was quick because we knew exactly what we wanted. Feijoada is like a black bean stew with some sort of meat, usually pork or sausage. Super hearty, super filling. Interestingly, in Rio, this is traditionally served on Wednesdays, but you can also get it on weekends if you know where to go. Also at Bar do Mineiro, we had the national drink of Brazil. It is, of course, the iconic Caipirinha. These are delicious. I love a fruity drink. They're made with cachaça, which is a Brazilian liquor sort of similar to rum, along with lime and sugar, and if you're feeling fancy, whatever other little pieces of fruit that you want. I think that a fruity, sort of refreshing drink like this is actually perfect alongside of a very hearty meal like feijoada. It's all about balance, obviously. I mean, the national meal with the national drink, instantly iconic. All that's missing now is the national sweet treat. But don't worry, I got you covered for that as well. I love chocolate, like actually though. There's so much that can be said about chocolate in Brazil, just in general. Cacao trees have such a storied history of growing in Brazil. And as such, chocolate is just on another level in Central and South America. But if you want to try something that's a little bit more unique than your typical candy bar, you have to try a brigadeiro. Why did I say it like that? Brigadeiro. Brigadeiro. I grabbed one at basically the fanciest cafe I have ever seen in my entire life. It is known as Confeiteria Colombo, and I visited a couple times during my stay in Rio. And that was partly because the first time I went, they were sold out of these. So just be aware that they can sometimes sell out quickly. Brigadeiros are basically like some combination of fudge and a truffle. And then they also have sprinkles. It kind of tastes like if you've ever had chocolate cake, except without the cake. Does that make sense? As you might imagine, they are super rich. One is definitely enough. I think my friend Caroline actually only ate half of one, but that wasn't because she didn't want it. It was because she immediately dropped the rest of hers on the floor as soon as I got this shot. Tragic. I would say plan to just spend an afternoon sipping a coffee and nibbling on your little brigadeiro. But save room for dinner because we are staying in Rio for this next one, and it is not going to be something that you expect. I'm gonna talk about something I promise you never thought you would hear in a video about food in Brazil. Sushi. Yeah, the iconic traditional Japanese raw fish with rice. That's sushi. But hear me out. Brazil as a nation has the largest population of Japanese people outside of Japan itself. And the food has become an essential part of Brazilian culture. And don't tell Japan this, but I think I might have had the best sushi of my entire life in the neighborhood of Leblon in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The restaurant is known as Mitsuba, and it's on the bottom floor of a shopping mall. So it's sort of hard to find, I'm not gonna lie, but good God, it is worth it. I actually went here twice, once with my friend Caroline, and again with my friend Bruno. And both times we ordered this whole platter of sushi that was just hand curated by the chef. But we were able to make requests, and I did request that it would be predominantly salmon-based sushi, because I love salmon. I love salmon. I love salmon. Because I love salmon. It was a masterpiece, so delicious. And like these just large, just big old hunks of salmon meat actually might have altered my brain chemistry. One of my favorite meals of the year, for sure. Now, even with as good as all of this restaurant food has been, I can't deny that I think that probably some of the best food in Brazil is actually the street food. Aside from, meat, 3 of the most famous culinary delights in Brazil are actually street food. Pão de queijo. Crazy that it took me this long to mention it. It is cheese bread and it is magnificent. I ate this like probably a few times a week during my month in Brazil, and most of the time it was just so quick and off the cuff that I didn't even film it. What separates this from cheese breads in other cultures is that this is not made with traditional flour. Pão de queijo is actually made with tapioca flour, which gives it its sort of characteristic and unique taste. It is majestic and it is magical, and it is some other third thing that starts with M. Another piece of street food deliciousness are coxinhas, and I had never had one of these before I got to Brazil. A coxinha is sort of like a fried dough ball filled with shredded chicken or something else, and it can have cream cheese. They actually sort of remind me of a jalapeno popper, except bigger and with meat instead of jalapeno. And also, one more thing, hot dogs. Yep, just hot dogs. I don't really have much to say here, except that they love hot dogs in Brazil and sort of just load them up with all kinds of insane and unique toppings. And if you want to try all 3 at once, my favorite chain to go for all of these things is called Genial. They are everywhere in Brazil, especially Rio, and they have loaded hot dogs, pão de queijo, and coxinhas. And they basically just are gonna provide you with a whole bunch of joy in exchange for the small price of your meal. They are perfect. I almost bought their t-shirt, but I didn't. I wish I did. I think the one thing that shocked me most about the food in Brazil was the consistency. I mean, like genuinely, meal after meal after meal were consistently delicious. For me, I actually think that's the best way to measure a nation's food quality. You can always find, 1 or 2 really great restaurants in any country in the world. But I think that the true measure of greatness is when it's hard to find even one bad restaurant. That was me in Brazil. Like, I loved everything I ate. If you are considering going to Brazil, absolutely do it. But don't just go for the incredible beaches and the incredible cities. Or even IGUAÇU Falls, which is one of the most breathtaking things that I've ever seen. Go for the food. I promise, once you really dive in, it's a lot better than you think, actually. You know what's crazy? My favorite meal that I ate in all of Brazil isn't even featured in this video. I gave it its own segment in my video about Sao Paulo. If you haven't seen it, click here to watch it now. And whether you have or have not seen it, I would be so honored if you would like and subscribe to this channel for so much more content coming your way very soon.